Clara chose a very public place to ask me to marry her, and with that same flair for the dramatic, she set our wedding date right then and there. On the day we were supposed to be joined together, all of our friends and family were gathered in a beautifully decorated hall. Just as the ceremony was about to begin, a massive screen behind the altar flickered to life. It wasn't a sentimental slideshow of our memories, but a professionally shot video of Clara dancing provocatively in a miniskirt with a man who was clearly the love of her life. He was not me. The room filled with gasps and muffled laughter, and I instantly became the biggest joke in the city. Clara, seemingly unfazed, took the microphone from the officiant. "Did everyone enjoy the show?" she asked, her voice ringing with excitement. Just then, the man from the video, Mark, emerged from the crowd. He was dressed in an impeccable tailored suit, and in his hand he held an open box containing a dazzling diamond ring. He walked directly to the stage. "Clara, marry me," he declared, his voice full of passion. "I want you to marry for love, not out of some sense of obligation." Clara's face lit up with a brilliant smile. She accepted the ring, sliding it onto her finger, and then turned her gaze to me, the groom she had just publicly humiliated. "Alex," she said, her voice sweet as poison, "what do you have to say?" I barely took a moment to think. I looked at her, at the man she had chosen, and offered a calm smile. "I wish you both a lifetime of happiness," I said, my voice steady, "and I hope you have lots of beautiful children together." At the wedding, with everyone watching, Mark knelt down, holding the ring high for all to see. "Clara, marry me," he said again, as if for emphasis. "I hope you marry for love." The crowd was utterly shocked. My friends and family, who made up the majority of the guests, looked on with grim expressions. I, Alex, the groom standing at the altar, was undeniably the greatest fool in the room. I could feel the weight of their pity, and from some corners I could sense a cruel enjoyment of my misery. Clara seemed completely oblivious to the tension, turning to me with that same expectant look. "Alex, what do you say?" She had already taken the ring from him, her stunning face glowing with a smile so bright it was almost blinding. It was as if this was the moment she had been waiting for all along, his grand proposal, not our vows. I didn't hesitate for even a second. "I wish you a happy life together and many children," I repeated, adding, "I'll even cover the bill for today's event. Consider it my wedding gift." The crowd was stunned into silence. Most of them probably thought I was just forcing a smile, putting on a brave face. They all knew my history with Clara, the 7 years I had spent pursuing her. From the hallways of our high school to the sprawling campus of our college, before she finally agreed to be with me. Her family looked particularly anxious. They had been eager for Clara to marry into my family, a union that promised significant benefits for their business ventures. Clara's smile faltered for just a moment, her expression cooling. Her eyes seemed to redden slightly, and when she spoke, her smile was strained. "Alex, you agreed so easily. Did you ever even love me?" "I did," I replied honestly. "And a part of me still does. But it's precisely because I love you that I have to respect your choice. If Mark is the one who holds your heart, then you should be with him. Love is about setting someone free, not holding them prisoner. Clara, I sincerely wish you happiness." I almost made myself believe the noble words I was saying. Seeing his opportunity, Mark stood up and tried to take Clara's hand. "See, Clara? Alex doesn't even care about you. He's not even going to fight to keep you. Marry me." Just as their fingers were about to touch, Clara suddenly pulled her hand back. Then, with a look of utter disdain, she hurled the diamond ring directly at Mark's face. "Get lost!" she spat. "What right do you have to slander the man I love?" Everyone was frozen once again. They had come expecting a wedding, then thought they were witnessing a cliché drama of a wedding being crashed. But this sudden twist was more exciting than anyone could have anticipated. Mark looked completely puzzled. "Clara, what are you doing? Last night at your bachelorette party, I confessed my feelings, and you didn't refuse me. You didn't say no when I told you I was going to do this." "Not refusing isn't the same as agreeing." Clara's voice was ice cold. She turned away from him and walked over to me, taking my hand and interlocking her fingers with mine. "Alex, did you enjoy my little show?" I managed a faint smile and gently removed my hand from hers. "The show was fantastic. I loved it. But this wedding isn't necessary anymore." "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice rising in alarm. "I was just playing a little joke on you, and now you're canceling the wedding?" She pointed a finger at Mark. "We just grew up together. Yes, we hang out a lot, but I've always conducted myself properly. Don't make such a big fuss." Ever since I started pursuing Clara, this had been her way. Back then, she kept me guessing, never fully accepting me, but never turning down other suitors either, clearly enjoying the orbit of attention. Whenever I felt I had reached my limit and was ready to give up, she would suddenly appear by my side, take my hand, and whisper, "Alex, without you I would die. You can't leave me, you have to keep chasing me." And every single time, I would give in. I was hopelessly in love with her, but I was also grateful. When my parents passed away, my extended family descended into a vicious power struggle, and I was subjected to so much abuse that I fell into a deep depression and tried to end my life several times. It was Clara who dragged me out, not by forcing me to live, but by simply showing me the things in life that could be enjoyable. I pulled through because of her, and I became completely obsessed with her. But she kept leading me on, causing me endless pain. She would say things like, "In Journey to the West, the monk and his disciples had to face 81 trials to obtain the sacred scriptures. Isn't it romantic to undergo challenges for the sake of true love?" It felt like she had brainwashed me, making me believe that this constant cycle of pursuit and pain was a sign of our epic love story. Finally, on the night of our college graduation party, Clara confessed to me in front of everyone. She stood on the stage, knelt down on one knee, and smiled radiantly. 3 years of high school, 4 years of college. You've taken 99 steps toward me, Alex. Let me take the final step. Let's be together. That day, I thought I had finally found true love. In the intimacy of our first night together, I learned that Clara, who always seemed so wild and careless, was surprisingly innocent and had even cried when I accidentally hurt her. As a man with traditional values, this discovery made me cherish her even more. But even after we officially became a couple, Clara wouldn't explicitly turn down her other suitors. Instead, she would let them get their hopes up before dramatically introducing me as her man, right when they thought they were about to succeed. I never understood why she did these things, and it troubled me deeply. She never seemed to suffer any internal conflict, but her external dramas constantly created problems for me. She demanded that I keep my distance from all my female friends, and even some of my male friends. I did it for her, but she never reciprocated. I had been tired for a long time, but I was addicted to loving her, unable to quit. Yet here, at our sacred wedding ceremony, she continued with her antics. I simply couldn't stand it anymore. Remembering the past, the more I recalled, the more disconnected I felt from the woman standing in front of me. "Alex, why did you go so quiet? You're not seriously going to call off the wedding, are you?" Clara whined, clinging to my arm. Her voice snapped me out of my thoughts, and I nodded firmly. "Yes, Clara, the wedding is cancelled, and we should break up too. I'm actually really glad we didn't get the marriage license first," I said. "Speaking of which, I have you to thank for that. If you hadn't skipped our appointment to go hang out with Mark, I'd be looking at a divorce right now." My words left Clara in a stunned silence. She stared at me with an expression I had seen before, the kind of look a criminal in a movie gives right before they completely snap. She had done this during our past arguments, making me wonder if she had some underlying mental issues. I ignored her and addressed the crowd. "Today's mess is my fault. I'll come by each of your homes later to apologize in person." With that, the crowd had nothing more to say. The situation was already embarrassing enough for both of our families. Any more drama, and it would turn into a complete joke. After all, both my family and Clara's cared deeply about their reputations. Just then, Mark stormed up to me, his eyes red with anger. He spat out, "Clara already humbled herself for you, and you're still making things difficult for her? Are you even a man?" I looked at him, genuinely puzzled. "Mark, you like Clara. This breakup is exactly what you've wanted, isn't it? So take her and go, instead of pestering me." Mark stood there for a moment, perhaps realizing that I had a point. But soon he blurted out, "I will take Clara away, but I'll never forgive you for embarrassing her like this." "Oh, come on," I said patiently. "That intimate dancing video from her bachelorette party, she shared that herself. And when you showed up trying to crash the wedding, she didn't exactly say no. It seems to me that today's embarrassment is entirely of her own making. So, Mark, take my advice. Stop making a scene here and go do what you need to do." Inside, I was hurting. Even if the love seemed to have faded, I had been addicted to loving Clara for so long that cutting ties felt like a severe withdrawal. And with a shady character like Mark hounding me, if I were less mannered, someone else would have had him beaten up by now. "Are you trying to teach me how to act?" Mark waved off my words and took a swing at me. I sighed, easily dodging the clumsy punch by shifting my feet. I grabbed his tie, tugging it sharply, and he fell to his knees, gritting his teeth in pain. I've practiced martial arts since high school, and I've never slacked off. "It's best not to start trouble," I said coolly, signaling for my bodyguards. "Please escort Mr. Mark out." They started to approach, but Clara interjected. "Stop! No one touches Mark." She was still protecting him. My heart ached, even as I frowned. The guards stopped, looking to me for guidance. They had been with me since high school and had always treated Clara as their future mistress. I sighed, shaking my head to dismiss them for the time being. Mark, immediately cocky again, remarked, "Clara, I knew you'd have my back." Facing me, he taunted, "Alex, how did chasing Clara for 7 years turn out for you? All your money and power don't mean a thing. Our childhood bond beats it all." I nodded, not wanting to argue a pointless debate. Love isn't something you can win through an argument. If proving I was better required a debate, I had already lost. "Alex, apologize to Clara right now. Get on your knees and don't get up until she forgives you," Mark yelled at me. "Are you out of your mind?" I asked, bewildered. "I've already canceled the wedding and broken up with Clara. Why are you wasting your energy on me instead of trying to win her over?" Mark hesitated, then eventually said, "Of course I'll pursue Clara. But you humiliated her, so you must apologize. It's my duty to ensure you do, to show Clara my sincerity." "Mark," I said, my patience wearing thin, "I never use my status to bully people, but that doesn't mean I can be targeted for no reason. I'm maintaining my composure, but don't mistake that for an invitation to push me around. Take Clara and leave. Save some dignity for yourself." I was making a final plea. Yet Mark's pride was hurt. He swung at me again. This time Clara slapped him across the face. Mark staggered back, and Clara followed up with a swift kick to his legs, forcing him down to his knees again. "Clara, you—" Mark began, then fell silent. Clara had taken a long, sharp hairpin from her hair and was pressing its point against his throat. She looked at me, a manic grin on her face, her demeanor strangely bashful. but her voice was a desperate plea. "Alex, I really know I was wrong this time. I promise I won't fool around anymore. To prove it, should I just kill him right now?" She's actually gone mad. That was the first thought that entered my mind, and from the looks on everyone's faces, it was what they were thinking too. I suddenly realized that whenever we had an intense argument, Clara seemed to have a destructive urge. "Cancel the wedding?" I said, my voice low and firm. "But let's hold off on the breakup for now. Let him go." I had to agree, at least for the moment. If someone died at my wedding, the impact on my family's reputation would be immense. Otherwise, with a person like Mark, whether he lived or died wasn't really my concern. Clara beamed a bright, relieved smile and let go of Mark. Then, as if nothing had just happened, she ran up to me, jumped up, wrapped her beautiful legs around my waist and hugged my neck tightly. "Alex, I'm so glad you can forgive me. Otherwise, I couldn't go on living," she said as tears started to fall from her eyes. Anyone could see that she truly loved me. I could see it too, but it also freaked me out more than a little. "Get down first. We'll talk at home," I sighed. After all the guests had finally left, Clara's parents and her brother found me in the hotel's private lounge. At that moment, Clara was already in a suite, taking off her makeup, saying she wanted to go home and cook for me. I sat in a plush armchair, rubbing my temples, completely exhausted. Thinking back on all my years with Clara, I always felt tired. I loved her, but it felt like I was suffering from a serious illness that was slowly wearing me out. Clara's father sat down next to me. "Alex, we've spoiled Clara, but she wasn't lying about one thing. She would never betray you, and she loves you very much." Her mom took my hand, her grip warm and motherly. "Alex, all these years, I've treated you like my own son. So, even if I have to beg you, please forgive Clara this one time, okay?" That wasn't just empty talk. Though at first they saw me as a good financial match for their daughter, over time I saw they were people with a solid set of values. Her mom, especially, was on my side even before I had won Clara over. There were a few times when I was sick, and even Clara had gone out to have fun, but her mom had stayed and looked after me. My own parents passed away early, so to some extent they had filled a bit of that parental role for me. Ken, Clara's brother, added, "Brother-in-law, my parents always favored Clara over me, so she was spoiled to no end. But she really does love you. Every spot in our house where a photo can be placed, it's a photo of you. When she's chatting with us, she can't go 3 sentences without mentioning your name. And although she was a bit much this time, it's not completely unforgivable." I looked at their earnest faces and eventually nodded. "I'll go home and have a good talk with Clara. After all these years, it's not just about her and me anymore. Our families are tightly bound together. If Clara can manage her temper, I'm willing to give her another chance." When I got back to our villa, the smell of food cooking filled the air as soon as I walked in. Just from the aroma, I could tell it was my favorite dish. It reminded me of how Clara had learned to cook just for me. Even though she couldn't stand the smell of grease, she had dived into the kitchen so that I could enjoy her cooking every day. She really had done a lot for me. Maybe I shouldn't have been so abrupt at the wedding. I walked into the kitchen and saw Clara by the stove, but my faint smile froze on my face. Mark was there, casually peeling garlic at the counter. "Alex, you're back," Clara said, wiping her hands on her apron as she moved to hug me. I took a step back to avoid her, a cold smirk on my face. "Clara, I just decided I should give you a chance, and you've already pulled this—" "Really? What's up now?" Clara asked, looking genuinely puzzled. I frowned and pointed at Mark. "Why is he in my house?" "Oh, Alex, Mark's just my childhood friend. Don't overthink it," Clara said, acting as if nothing from the wedding had even happened, brushing it all off as if she'd completely forgotten it took place. Mark even had the nerve to smirk at me. Alex, don't be so narrow-minded. Clara and I grew up together. If we wanted anything to happen between us, you wouldn't stand a chance. Were they both suffering from some form of amnesia? I felt like I was losing my mind. I laughed out of sheer frustration and pointed to the door. All right, you can both leave. I don't want to see either of you anymore. Alex, isn't that a bit shameless of you? Mark stood up and pointed a finger at me. Clara's giving you a chance. You should just take it and drop the issue. Why all the hassle? Otherwise, don't blame me for taking Clara away. Please, take her away, I said, my patience gone. I'm starting to get seriously annoyed. Clara looked at me, stunned. Alex, what do you mean? You don't want me anymore? Yeah, Clara, I don't. We're breaking up, I said, taking a deep breath. From now on, don't show up in front of me again. Then I turned and headed for the living room. Clara followed me. Alex, are you sure you don't want me? I rounded on her, shouting for the first time in our relationship. I was going to forgive you, but you brought him back to my house. What do you think of me, Clara? Get out! The sight of you makes me sick. Even in our worst fights, I had always kept my voice and emotions in check, but this time I couldn't hold back. Clara just shook her head, crying, looking at me as if she didn't recognize me. Then she said, Fine, Alex. Don't regret this. I'll leave now. I used to play around, but I never once cheated on you. But with how you're treating me now, I'll go get a room with Mark tonight. My heart ached. Even though I had decided to end things with her, what she said made me feel a deep, visceral sense of betrayal. The feeling made it hard to breathe. Yet I ignored her, watching her walk toward the door before I picked up the house phone and called security. Inform building management to delete her access credentials, remove her fingerprint and facial recognition data from the system, and change the password to the main gate. Clara stopped at the door, turned around, and glared at me. Alex, you brought this on yourself. Then she left. Mark sneered at me and stuck up his middle finger as he followed her out. I ignored him, had one of the house staff pour me some tea, and tried to calm down. Honestly, I didn't have much time to deal with my own feelings. Work was just too busy. There was a major international project that had finally gotten off the ground, and I had a ton of things to handle personally. To be honest, even holding the wedding today was something I had to report to my superiors and get approval for. I got home late that night after spending hours at the office. I instinctively glanced around the dark villa, worried that Clara might pop out from a corner and scare me again. No matter how late I came home, she would always hide somewhere, scare me half to death, and then hug me and tell me how much she had missed me all day. Then it hit me. Clara wouldn't be doing that anymore. After a quick shower, I lay down to rest. I had just fallen asleep when my phone suddenly started buzzing non-stop. Clara had sent me a message. It was a photo of a table completely covered in bottles of alcohol, everything from straight 90-proof vodka to expensive whiskey, and even some potent homemade liquor. Then she sent a voice note, her voice uniquely tempting. Alex, you know, since you don't want me anymore, I only feel like you're with me when I'm drunk and half out of my mind. Another image came through. It was Mark, tied to a chair like a mummy, with a gag in his mouth. Clara's text followed. Haha, don't worry, Alex. In this life, there's only one man for me, and that's you. Other guys, they're just like cats and dogs to me. I would never let them take advantage of me. Crazy. I wanted to find some lyrics to a song that could perfectly describe Clara, because just saying she was crazy didn't quite cut it. But I couldn't think of a single word that fit her actions. I paused for a while, didn't reply, and just blocked her number. Even though it hurt, I actually hoped she would stay with Mark or someone else. Then she wouldn't bother me anymore, and maybe I could get over her quicker. Lost in thought, I drifted off to sleep. But as I slept, I felt a cool sensation on my skin. It was Clara's touch, Her body was always naturally cold. Was I dreaming of her? After all those years of loving her like an addiction, dreaming of her seemed normal, right? But this dream, it didn't seem very innocent. I suddenly snapped my eyes open and saw Clara sitting on top of me. She was wearing my favorite black silk nightgown, her long, messy hair framing her beautifully radiant face. "Alex, I came back for you. You must miss me too, right?" she whispered, leaning down and kissing me like a starving person. I pushed her away furiously. "Clara, we're over! Stop this nonsense!" She sat weakly on the bed, pushed her hair back from her face, and smiled like a maniac. "No, Alex," she said in a chillingly crazy tone. "If you leave me, I'll die." She moved toward me like some dark, crawling creature, impossibly fast. Before I knew it, she had grabbed me and kissed me hard, with such force that our lips collided, and I could feel the tender skin of my lips split under the pressure of her teeth. She kept going, biting down hard. There was no way to push her off because every push felt like it would tear my lips apart completely. She got what she wanted, pouring all of her pent-up emotion into me. Then, she let go, lying limply against me, murmuring, "Alex, we can't ever be apart." With no emotion left, I pushed her off the bed and said indifferently, "Clara, I'm saying it one last time. We're done. I don't love you anymore." "Impossible! Alex, quit joking. How could you not love me? You're my everything. And if you don't love me, what's the point of living?" Clara suddenly grabbed her bag and pulled out a sharp fruit knife, pressing it to her own throat. She laughed crazily. "Alex, if I die for you, you'd remember me forever, right?" Her eyes were wild, and she sounded like a total lunatic. I knew with absolute certainty that she would really do it. "Put it down," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Clara, I'll give you one last chance. Cut off all your inappropriate relationships. Can you do that?" I couldn't afford to let the national project I was managing suffer any more delays. If this was just about my own business, I would rather lose millions to break away from Clara completely. But this was a national project. It might even require a public-facing representative soon, so I had to keep her calm and stable, at least for now. "Don't worry, Alex. Mark won't bother you anymore," she said, tossing the knife aside. She crawled back onto the bed and cuddled up to me, looking up bashfully. "Alex, it wasn't enough earlier." "You know I've got a lot going on," I said, trying to deflect. "I need all my energy for work. I'm just worn out." Clara's eyes turned wild again. "So, Alex, earlier you were just trying to calm me down? You really do want to leave me, right?" "No," I said, defeated. "Then come on, do it?" I couldn't say no. I knew if I did, she'd probably go try to kill herself again. The next day when I got to work, my driver mentioned that I looked a bit hollow and advised that I should take it easy. I didn't have the energy to scold him. Being both my driver and bodyguard, he knew more than most. I really wanted to ask him how Clara had managed to get into the villa last night. The driver seemed to read my mind and said quietly, "Ma'am had a bottle of gasoline with her. If I didn't let her in, she was going to set herself on fire on the front lawn. Sir, believe me, she meant it." "I understand," I sighed. The driver added, "Sir, I suggest taking ma'am to see a mental health professional." "You think she wouldn't kill the doctor?" I asked casually. The driver was surprised that I assumed Clara was capable of murder so easily, and he didn't say anything more, but his face was filled with concern. When I got to the office, I jumped straight into work. Last night, Clara had kept me up until dawn. I was exhausted and sore all over. If I wasn't in such good physical shape, I'd probably be dead in bed. I called my assistant, Sam, into my office. I grabbed the strong tea he handed me and took a long sip to wake myself up. I patted his shoulder and said, "You've got good hands. Give me a massage." "Alex, you don't look too good. Didn't you get enough sleep?" Sam asked while massaging my shoulders. He was my college buddy, and I thought of him as a little brother. I didn't want to revisit the events of last night, so I changed the subject. Isn't your wife's due date soon? I'm giving you some time off to be with her. No need, our parents are in town. They've got it covered, Sam said. Suddenly, the office door swung open. Clara walked in, wearing a stunning black dress, her long curly hair looking fabulous. She had a rosy glow, which was a stark contrast to my pale complexion. Alex, I brought you lunch, she said, then stopped, glaring at Sam and me with a sudden mood swing. She grumbled, Sam, how dare you touch my man? Sam thought she was kidding and just shrugged it off. Clara suddenly smiled and said, Okay, I'm here now, so you can leave for lunch. Sure, Alex, see you later? Sam nodded and left. Clara unpacked the lunch she'd brought and set it on the desk in front of me. As she started to massage my shoulders, she said, Alex, if you need someone to massage you, I'll come with you to work tomorrow. I'll even set up a kitchen in your break room to cook for you. There's no need for all that, I replied, munching on my lunch. Besides, Sam's hands are stronger. It feels better when he does it. So Sam's better than me, huh? She asked, her tone suddenly turning cold. I glared at her. I'm straight, and you should know that by now. Are you seriously getting jealous over this? I don't care. No one touches you but me, Clara huffed, acting all cutesy. After lunch, I sipped the tea Clara had brought. One glance at the contents, and my hair stood on end. It was loaded with energizing herbs, gokshura, sistancha, epimedium, maca, antler ginseng, goji, mulberry, and astragalus. How on earth would I not be overly energized after drinking this concoction? Drink it, Alex, or I'm not leaving, Clara nagged. I sighed and downed the entire thing. With her around, getting any real work done was nearly impossible. She was known for her antics, and working together in the same space often ended in some kind of office escapade. As she finally left, I breathed a huge sigh of relief. She was too wild, and just being in the same room with her made me anxious. Honestly, I was kind of scared of her. I was just eager to finish this project and maybe get some distance. Around 3 p.m., Sam burst into my office, looking pale and upset. What's up? I asked. He shut the door, groaning. Alex, is she okay? She went to my place. She warned my wife to keep me away from you just because I gave you a shoulder rub. She got jealous. Back in college, when you twisted your ankle playing basketball, I helped rub your foot. But she didn't act like this, I mused aloud. Is your wife all right? I asked, concerned. She's so far along in her pregnancy now, she doesn't need this kind of stress. My brain was a mess. Was Clara really going nuts? She had always been a bit possessive, but her warnings before usually came off as jokes. She didn't threaten Sarah, my wife, but she was really scared, Sam said. I thought about it for a moment and said, Take leave from now until this project is done. Is she seriously okay? Sam asked again. I nodded and sighed, recalling what he said about my twisted ankle. Clara had joked about being jealous back then, but hadn't Sam gotten jumped by some thugs at a cyber cafe a few days later? The thought had never crossed my mind before, but now I chose not to mention it, not wanting to worry Sam any more than he already was, and sent him home. By 9 p.m., I was wrapping up my work for the day and planned to head home. Outside the building, the car was already waiting. My driver winked at me, and I glanced inside. Clara was in the back seat. I really wanted to sit up front to avoid her, but I knew she'd go crazy. When I got in, she wrapped herself around me like a playful puppy, sniffing my neck, collar, and shoulders. She even took out her phone, turned on the flashlight, and started checking my clothes for any stray hairs. "Hand over your phone," Clara demanded. I suddenly felt suffocated, seething with a quiet rage. "Alex, are you afraid of me finding something you don't want me to see?" she asked, her face shadowed in the dim light of the car. I sighed and handed her my phone. "Here you go," I said, completely resigned. "Here's your reward," she said, leaning in and pecking me on the cheek. Then she expertly cracked my password. It was her birthday. I should have changed it. She looked thrilled with herself, then dove into my messages, call logs, and even my private notes. Her expression darkened as she was browsing. Pointing at a chat, she said, "Who is this Chloe? Why is she calling you big bro and asking you to buy her a handbag?" My heart ached with frustration. "Chloe is my cousin. She's studying abroad." "You've met her," I muttered, battling the tightness in my chest. "She has parents, so why is she coming to you for money?" Clara asked. I was losing it. "Clara, you're already crazy jealous of Sam, and now you're suspicious of my own cousin? Back when our family was in turmoil, everyone tried to screw me over except my uncle's family. They stood by me. They even lost their own son because of it. So of course I'm going to be good to Chloe. What's the problem with that?" "You're yelling at me because of another woman!" Tears started to stream down Clara's face. "Can someone just kill me already?" I thought miserably. If this project wasn't so crucial for the country, I would quit right now. "Clara, if you keep this up, I might not be able to stay with you. This is completely exhausting for me," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I was wrong," she said suddenly. Clara threw herself into my arms, handed me her phone, and said, "Alex, I'll change. I won't act like this anymore. Please don't be mad at me. I'm so scared you'll stop wanting me when you're angry." I finally let out a sigh of relief. Back home, I had the late-night snack she had prepared, drank her special herbal tea, and then went to take a shower. Midway through, Clara joined me, and we ended up spending an hour in there. In bed, she wrapped around me like a snake, not letting go for a second. It was another night of forced indulgence. The next day at work, I felt utterly drained, like all the life had been sucked out of me. At lunchtime, Clara didn't come to bring me food. Feeling a rare sense of relaxation, I went to the company cafeteria to eat with everyone else. But before I could even finish my meal, my driver came rushing in. I asked him why he was in such a hurry. He said, "I went home to walk my dog, and my wife wasn't there. The housekeeper said she heard the missus booking a flight to the UK this morning. And last night, the missus was asking a lot of questions about Miss Chloe from your uncle's house. And I'm worried." The driver didn't finish his sentence because the implication seemed too crazy to say out loud. I almost choked. Could Clara really be going after my cousin? I quickly made a call. "If Clara looks for you, don't meet with her. Change where you're living for a while." My cousin asked, confused. "What's up, bro?" Thinking it over, I said, "Clara's not mentally well right now. I'm worried she might hurt you. Just listen to me." "Got it, bro. I'll crash at a friend's place and I won't post anything online to leave any traces," she promised, and I felt a small sense of relief. Our family has had its share of power struggles, so my cousin has always been cautious and never reckless. I tried calling Clara, but her phone was turned off. It takes over 9 hours to fly to London, so she was probably already on the plane. What a psycho. I slammed my hand on the table. 3 days passed. I stayed in touch with my cousin regularly, but I didn't use my own phone. I had my driver call her so Clara wouldn't be able to see my call records and cause more chaos. Knowing my cousin was safe gave me some peace of mind. Clara returned late on the 3rd night. When she got home, she looked exhausted and anxious. I was eating a late dinner when I saw her walk in like that. I was honestly scared. In a physical fight, I could crush her like an ant, but she truly scared me sometimes because I knew she would genuinely risk it all. "Alex, why is your cousin avoiding me? Is she guilty of something? Tell me the truth, Alex. Is there something going on between you two?" Clara rushed to me, her face pleading. "Clara, get real. Chloe is my cousin. What are you even thinking?" I yelled. "You promised you wouldn't do this again, yet you went after my cousin. What are you doing? If you had found her, what then?" "What would I do? Alex, how can you ask me that? She laughed and cried at the same time. I love you too much to let anyone get near you. No one. Especially since you've repeatedly said you don't want me anymore. Anyone who is close to you is my enemy. She sat on my lap, caressing my face. Alex, you'll never know how much I love you. You had better not betray me. Her words, her tone, and her expression all gave me the chills, because it felt like the subtext was, betray me, and I'll kill you. I won't betray you, I said, keeping my tone firm. But please draw the line, or you'll push me to the edge. I'd never let you leave alone. If you ever stop wanting to live, I'd go with you. Living or dying, just being with you is enough, Clara said lovingly. That night I was put through the ringer again. Half a month of this torture went by. Finally, the project wrapped up. I had lost a significant amount of weight, but I felt an immense sense of relief. With the project done, I had to go to the capital to report on it, and would be stuck in meetings for a week in a secure government location, free from outside interference. Clara couldn't bother me there. I was allowed to bring one assistant, so I picked Jessica, who was great at her job. But when it was time to leave, Jessica was nowhere to be seen. After waiting for a bit, Clara walked over, dressed in a sharp, black business suit. I was shocked. I rushed over and whispered, "What did you do to Jessica?" "Nothing much," Clara grinned. "I just told her that if she didn't stay away from you, I'd hurt her daughter." "So, she went home." "Crazy person." I almost yelled it out loud, but in the end, I just had to hold it in. The meetings and reports dragged on for a whole week. That week felt like hell. Clara was like a virus right next to me, constantly wearing me down. I even had a nightmare where she killed Sam's entire family, then Jessica's, and finally, even my uncle's. When I got home, I knew it was time to have a final talk. I sat on the couch, gave Clara a long, hard stare, and said, "Let's talk." "Alex, what do you want to eat today?" I said, "Let's talk." "Alex, how about hot pot tonight? Remember in high school when you didn't have any money and you were so skinny, and I'd always take you out for hot pot?" "Clara," I suddenly shouted. "I said, let's talk. Stop avoiding it." "Alex, you don't want to talk. You want to force me to die." Clara suddenly broke into tears, shaking her head. "I know you want to break up with me again. I know you've just been putting me off, waiting for the project to end so you could break up with me." She suddenly knelt on the floor in front of me, hugging my leg. "Alex, can't you forgive me? I've never betrayed you. I only hung out with Mark to try to make you pay more attention to me. At the wedding I made a mess just to see how much you love me. The more you tolerate, the deeper you love." Her words had no logic, and I felt with certainty that she was truly sick. I took a deep breath and said, "I really did give you a chance, but then you brought him home again. This isn't about betrayal anymore. It's about you knowing I don't like something and doing it anyway. You don't respect me, and you've been getting worse. Sam, Chloe, Jessica, you're jealous of everyone. And it's not just jealousy. You threaten them, which is illegal." Clara cried harder after I spoke. "I know it's wrong, but I can't help it. Alex, remember when Sam put ointment on your ankle in high school? I hated him for that. I had someone beat him up later. Then he became your assistant, and I just wanted him gone." So it was her, I thought. Suddenly, I remembered another girl, Emily, dropping out of school during our senior year. "What happened with Emily?" I asked. Emily had that innocent, first love look, and everyone knew she had a crush on me while I was chasing Clara. She dropped out because her dad had a stroke and needed money for treatment. I gave her $50,000, so she left school to take care of him. But she had come back to the city later. I took another deep breath. "What about Megan from your college dorm?" In college, Clara and I weren't official yet, and Megan liked me, so Clara had played matchmaker between us. Then Megan suddenly vanished from school. Megan was popular with the guys. I set her up with a rich old man so she was taken care of financially for life. Clara, how many people have you pushed away from me? I was getting scared. A lot. I can't even remember them all. But back then, I was only mildly sick. I made sure they were all okay. Clara laughed, a sad, broken laugh, as if she was the victim. But many of them didn't need to leave like that. If you had just agreed to be with me back then. Why didn't you accept me at first? I asked the question I had long wanted to know. Did you not like me, or did you just like the attention? Clara shook her head, pointing to her own temple. I have a hereditary mental illness. I didn't want to drag you down with me, but I couldn't help loving you, so eventually I confessed. That single sentence suddenly made me feel an overwhelming wave of pity for her. Just then, the front door was opened by my driver. Police officers rushed in. A female officer stepped forward and said, "Miss Clara, since Mr. Mark was found dead on your property, you need to come with us for an investigation." What? Mark's dead? I looked at Clara in disbelief. She just smiled at me and whispered, "See, Alex? I wasn't lying. Mark won't bother you anymore." At that moment, I felt a deep chill run through my entire body. I pitied her illness, but I feared her madness. Her being taken away by the police could be a final goodbye. Was that a relief for both of us? I watched her leave, but I felt no relief, only a deeper, more profound pain. For 2 weeks, I didn't leave the house. When I was sober, I drank. When I was drunk, I reminisced about all the times I had spent with Clara. Her face turned cold, her eyes reddening. She forced a smile and said, "Alex, you agreed just like that. Did you ever really love me?" Apart from her controlling nature, she seemed to genuinely care for me. I honestly couldn't stand her behavior, but was that fair to her, being a patient and all? Even when she was taken away for 2 weeks, I didn't visit her once. Selfishly, I thought, if Clara turns out to be okay and comes back, what do I do then? Can I really spend the rest of my life with someone like her? If I refuse, will she kill me? Or herself? Or will she go completely insane and harm everyone I care about? Maybe her not coming back would be the best solution for everyone. I walked out of the house and sat on the steps outside, lighting a cigarette. The sunlight was a bit harsh. In the bright light, there seemed to be the shadow of a person. She wore a simple white dress. Her skin was like porcelain, her features were stunning, and she had a radiant smile on her face. "Alex, I'm back." Clara bent down and smiled at me. I couldn't tell if I was happy or sad. I just felt like I was drunk again. Clara sat down next to me, leaned against my shoulder, and whispered, "I rented that house to Mark a long time ago. I haven't been there in ages, so Mark hanging himself has nothing to do with me." "Why would he suddenly commit suicide?" I asked. "Someone like him committing suicide? No way." Clara continued, "Everyone has something they hold dear. For me, that's you, Alex. For Mark, it was his sister, the one who raised him, the one person he would give his life to protect." She hugged my arm tightly and whispered in my ear, "Plus, Mark knew I was sick. He knew I was capable of killing." I chuckled, but didn't respond. I might as well just live day by day. "Clara, Alex," she corrected herself, mimicking my thoughts. "If you ever really can't stand me anymore, please make sure your plan is well thought out and leave no evidence when you kill me. Otherwise, I might lose control and kill everyone you care about."